Good evening, everybody. Thank you so very much for being here yet again this week for Overlight with these fantastic humans. Also, if you were here for Grim Femmes, what an awesome show. Thank you so much to Emma and that whole cast for a really, really awesome game and exploration of everything that they go into and for being that vulnerable and for letting us see that experience. Thank you all so much. And thank you for coming and watching them. And if you're hanging out to watch us as well, or if you're just joining us, we are super happy that you are here. My name's Eugenio. I use he, him pronouns, and I am... Oh, thank you. Thanks for the host, Diana. Great. My name is Eugenio. I use he, him pronouns. I'm also sometimes known as your friendly neighborhood dungeon master or game master, DM, GM, Jazzy Hands. Ooh, I don't like GM Jazzy Hands. Too much J. Anyway, I will be the GM for this Overlight game this evening. You can find me on the Twitters at DM Jazzy Hands. Let's go around and meet the rest of our players this evening, and let's start with Nat.
Hello, I'm Nat Rose. You can find me on Twitter at Nat Rose with a Z in it, not an S. And I actually currently think Diana and I might be switched on the overlay, but I'm not sure.
Great. I'm going to fix that as soon as I fix the fact that also it still says we're playing Grim Femmes on the stream information. Nope. So I'm going to fix that first, and then...
Yeah. But yes, you can find me on Twitter and probably other places I can't remember right now, and I mostly do shenanigans.
Love that. Fantastic. Well, as I move you over... Oh, look, it's like magic. Let's have Alicia introduce herself.
Hey, I'm Alicia, NNG9 on Twitch, NNG98 on Twitter. I remember my name. Don't worry about it.
Proud of you.
But yeah, she, her pronouns. I'm gonna play Siggy. Stay hydrated. There we go.
There you go. Thank you for that. And last this week, but most certainly not least, Diana, who is now in the correct place on the overlay.
Hola, I go by Diana Moon online. I use she, her, and I am playing Aida, an Arumel, who is very, very naive for some reason.
Yeah, I kind of like that. Like, I was not expecting it, but I like it. I like it. We are, as you will notice, short one player this evening. Good thoughts and healthy vibes sending off to our beautiful Banyari Elder Nodi, played by Victoria Rogers. You can find her on the interwebs at Mimi Merlot, and she is the DM of the podcast The Broadswords. She will not be with us this evening, or maybe if she's up for it, she'll join us a little bit later, but for right now, just send her happy and healing thoughts and vibes. So these will be those of us who are here for you tonight. Let's do, who wants to do a little recap of what we did, what we managed last week? We did a little bit of Session Zero-y stuff, talking about safety tools and introducing characters. But once we dove into it, somebody give us at least a partial recap. We can pass it around if we like.
Long ago, when Benyari was on top of a crane, there were people who looked at the Benyari and were confused. Somebody else continue.
That was a beautiful start. I expect the poetry to continue.
I can do my section in haiku if you want.
Oh, yes.
No, I actually can't off the top of my head, but I thought it would be funny to suggest.
I mean, I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, okay, the party... I mean, they're not a party yet, but they have all encountered each other, and I use the word encounter on purpose, because I don't think they're quite sure what to do with each other yet. There are a bunch of very radically different personalities from radically different walks of life who have never quite encountered something quite like each other before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
or maybe they have. It's hard to say.
Well, maybe very much in passing, but it seems like this is definitely the first time most of you have really, like, interacted at length and with any sort of depth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good old Yaida was done doing their deckhand things and decided to stroll a little bit and caught an interesting conversation between a very tall person and a very short person and was curious on how this particular shard didn't do the case system like on theirs, which they're happy about. And just started to walk along for the ride to get as far away from their ship as possible in a more natural way. Absolutely. Because there was a music festival going on and supposedly free candy somewhere.
There was a little bit where you ended up,
Yeah,
although
candy.
maybe enough for each of you to have a piece, but if you want more than that, you're going to have to go exploring. Yeah, so we ended, beautifully done. Thank you very much, everybody. We ended last week with Conra unsure of his place in this party, as he mentioned. And do you want to talk a little bit about what happened at the very end?
I mean, all of the player characters in this setting have powers. They can channel the Overlight using the powers called Chroma. And up until about 5 seconds ago, Conroe was under the impression that he was not one of these.
Mm-hmm.
He's still under that impression,
right?
Quite frankly,
which really sort of takes a really fantastic mix of like self-deception and like willful ignorance, which for a historian is really sort of magical in a way that I love. Yeah.
His core virtue is logic, and he thinks it's illogical that he could possibly be that statistically improbable.
Oh, talk about imposter syndrome. Jeez.
Too real.
Yeah, so, right? I know. I had that thought after the session. I was like, oh, Conra is all of us. Right, so at the end, Faradon Lux, the musician and skyborn and unique individual that you all met in the amphitheater, in the Great Bazaar, in the Great Market, sort of beckoned Conra forward and asked him if perhaps he might have some information on a particular artifact that Faradon had on his person. And in touching that artifact, Conra inadvertently, I suppose, activated a rather powerful chroma in which he can see the past and the history of objects that he touches. And some strange visual things happened, although for the rest of you, you didn't see quite as much as Conra did. But as soon as Conra turned around, you all noticed that his eyes had become a bright silvery sheen, which is one of the surest tells that an individual is skyborn. So before we jump back into that super cool moment, there are a couple of sort of housekeeping-y things that we have to do. And the first is that I am remiss in not doing something that I meant to do at the end of every single session without fail, which is to give each of you a point of experience.
Yay!
Experience in this game. So characters in this game don't level up like they do in, like, for example, D&D. But you gain experience points, which you then spend at your own pace to increase your ratings in virtues and skills, and if you want, to buy additional chroma that your character is then able to use. I believe each additional chroma is 7 or 9. I don't remember now.
Something like that.
Anyway, it's not an insignificant number of experience that is required. I had the page marked, and now it fell out.
It's a handful.
Here we go. It's 9. So that's not insignificant, considering that you're basically getting 1 to maybe 2 if you complete a quest or some sort per session. It's a little bit cheaper to upgrade some of the lower ratings of your virtues and your skills. But then those get more costly as well. So anyway, each of you have gained 1 experience from that moment. Let's see, is there anything else housekeeping-y that we have to do? You got your XP. I think that's it for the moment. So let's hop into this scene where Conra has just turned around and his eyes are very obviously sort of, there's that moment that each of you may or may not remember from your own first use of chroma, where your eyes are particularly bright and radiant with the power of the Overlight, and that is the moment that Conra is having, whether or not he knows it.
He doesn't.
And behind him, Faradon Lux is just smiling the biggest smile you've seen on him all day, which is saying something.
I think I pat Conrad on the shoulder. It's like, congratulations. I didn't know this could happen without some sort of hardship upon you.
What happened? What do you mean? What? Nothing's happened.
Your eyes are shining, like Skyborn.
Yes, like the rest of us.
Mm-mm. What?
I do not have a reason to lie. I really don't know you that well.
You look over
So
and you just see Nodi sort of way down nice and low because she's little, just sort of sagely and quietly nodding her head along with the other two.
But the flashing colors, that's normal. Everybody can see that.
The flashing colors?
When you know strange things happen, or you hear an interesting tone of sound, or you eat a tasty thing, the color is in your head. It's in your head. It's in your head. It's not real.
That is the overlight going through you.
No, there's a scientific word for it. It's called
this.
synesthesia.
I love this. Will the two of you, Yaira and Siggy, will you make tests for me? Let's see.
Okay.
What test are you making? I'm still learning these skills. I think I'm going to have you make... here's what I'll have you make. I'm going to have you make logic science tests.
Okay. So...
Clearly it's going to go well.
Yep, logic science, right?
Uh-huh.
So for me, that'd be 3d6 and then 1 extra d6 since I have nothing in science.
Correct.
And then
Yep.
And then your
and then a d4.
Yes, your spirit die d4. Oh, that's another
great.
thing that I should
D4.
mention.
Forgot about
Well,
that.
we'll do it when we get your results. So yes, you're going to take 3 of your logic dice, which is a d6 for Yaira, and what is it for Siggy?
It's gonna be the 3d6 and then one.
Oh, good. So
D6.
2 untrained. I love it. Well, who knows?
This is gonna be great.
We got some successes on this before.
Yeah, that was me.
Nope.
No?
Since I put everything into it.
0. Any Siggy for you? Amazing. There's a train going by my apartment. I apologize. It probably sounds like an alien.
It's just the overlight, you know.
Right, it's just particularly powerful here. All right, so neither of you have ever heard of this strange synesthesia.
I'm pretty positive that would not have been a thing.
But you absolutely know what it looks like when a Skyborn has sort of unleashed or unlocked their powers. The other thing that I was going to reveal at an opportune moment when one of you had an odd number of successes, but that didn't happen. But if I don't say it now, I'll forget. Another mechanic that we didn't talk about last week is another way to use your spirit pool. So if you remember, all of the characters have a spirit pool, and the primary use for the spirit pool is that it is used to channel their chroma. When they try to use a chroma, their spirit die, their D4, determines how many spirit points out of their pool they have to spend. And if they roll a number that is higher than the number of points in their spirit pool, they experience what's called a shatter. However, spirit does have a few other uses. We think of our spirit pool as sort of a Skyborn's zest and enthusiasm for the beauty of the life around them. And so one of the things that you all can use your spirit pool for is if you have an odd number of successes on a skill test or a other kind of test. I'll look this up later, but definitely on a skill test. You can spend 1 spirit point to bump that odd number success up to an even number success. Sort of like you can do if you roll a 4 on the spirit die on a skill test, except you don't have to roll a 4. But in this case, you are spending some of your joy. You are remembering a fond moment. You are living for that beauty of life in such a way that whatever you're attempting to do just happens that much better. Something that Skyborn are able to do. But in this case, it doesn't matter. So, neither of you have any idea what he's talking about, just that you're pretty sure that he just performed a chroma power.
I do not know what this synesthesia is, but you use chroma.
That's rather clear you did use chroma.
I look back at the musician behind me, and he's probably just making a face, isn't he?
He is smiling, and but he has a sort of curious look in his eye. And when you turn around to him, he sort of steps forward to you, and he says to you, Conra, he says, "Are you really also a synesthete?"
Yes.
I've seen many people, met many Skyborn. Ooh, welcome, Raiders from Dice Prairie. We are happy to have you with us. I have seen many Skyborn, met many people. Never in all my wanderings have I encountered A skyborn synesthete. That must be confusing for you, but I promise you'll grow used to it. Your friends are correct. You channeled the Overlight. You performed a chroma. You knew things that, and at this point he looks to Yaida, that he should not have known to simply look at this mask. Am I wrong, Yaida?
You are not wrong.
How would
For
you
someone who's not Arumel cannot know these things.
Precisely. And I venture to guess that you've never been to Vale, have you, Conrad?
No, but I've read about it plenty in books.
I'm sure you have.
They don't teach these in books.
And yet you knew it without a moment's hesitation. It's true, Conrad. You'll have to accept it eventually. It will take time.
Conrad just sort of pouts and tries not to make eye contact with anybody.
Science!
But science! You know what? Why don't you make me, what is this? I think it's a will. Yeah, Conrad, why don't you make me a will resolve test?
Oh, I actually have a decent something in that.
Okay.
I've got D8s
So
in
this
both
skill,
of those.
this skill is for mental fortitude and defense in the face of compulsion and hardship, resisting persuasion, seduction, or blackmail. Stoicism when confronted with fear, anger, confusion, or or humor is the last thing that my GM screen says for this skill, which is interesting, but there you go.
I've got D8s in both of that, so that's nice.
So it's 68 plus your spirit die D4.
And I'm trying to roll above a 6, right?
You're trying to roll a 6
or above, yeah.
Yeah, 6 or better. So 6s do count as successes.
So that's only one success.
Okay. So one success is not enough for a luminous success unless you would like to spend a spirit point.
Nah.
No, so this is pretty overwhelming because as much as your logic brain wants to continue to believe that it's just your synesthesia, there's something sort of deeper down that you're trying desperately and almost failing to hold down, which is, well, you don't want to admit that it's possibly the truth, but something in you may know at this point.
And I pat your shoulder again. And I'm like, don't worry. It is frightening the first time. But at least you're among friends.
I barely know. Why do we keep using the F word? I don't care.
The new F word.
Conrad just angrily eats his candy.
Yep. So this moment, before we sort of move on with the scene, this moment of watching a Skyborn manifest their first chroma is really a special moment, and I think each of you remembers your first time very, very specifically and vividly. And so for being there with Conra while he manifested the first one, even if he's not super willing to sort of fess up to what happened, it was still an experience that all 5 of you, if you include I just blanked on his name, Faradon. It's not something that any of you are going to forget, and despite Conra's reluctance and reticence, it still is a pretty amazing moment. So I want each of you to add 1 to your spirit pool for experiencing that sort of monumental moment in Conra's life. So Faradon says, it will take time, Conra, and your friends here, and he sort of gives Siggy a sly smile as he uses the F word again. Your friends here and I will be with you while you grow into the knowledge of who you really are. But in the meantime, would you consent to going along, perhaps for academic purposes, while your friends attempt to find my lost mentor?
Oh, they're going to need a guide.
That they will, and what better guide than a historian of the city?
What can I say? They make you memorize the maps, you know.
Excellent. Well, in that case, I believe that we have agreement. And at this point, Nodi sort of walks up to Faradon and sort of taps her staff on the ground and looks up at him, and he smiles and leans down, and Nodi whispers something in his ear, and he thinks about it for a moment and then nods. And he says, if it's all the same to you, Nodi and I have some business to discuss. So for the time being, while you perhaps begin to attempt to track down my mentor, Nodi, I think will be best use here with me for some time. Once you have a lead on where Shatu Hak may be, come find us here, and perhaps by then Nodi will be able to join you in attempting to retrieve her.
Okay.
That seems reasonable.
Yes, but where do we start?
Would that I knew. Well, we can start with the important details about my master. Her name is Shatu Hak. She is master of the Green Heart, a Banyari, which is some of what Nodi and I have to discuss, though she is not a Verthod Leafkin, as our friend Nodi here is. She is, in fact, of the Eworn tribe. She's a bit smaller than our friend Nodi here, similarly festooned with roots, though more of the brown variety than the green. The most obvious thing about her, though, that you will find, and of all Eworn Banyari, is that you will of course see all of the small root shrews that live in symbiosis with her in her roots. They are the easiest way to identify an Eworn Banyari.
I think I lean over to Siggy and go, I didn't know they get smaller. No wonder it was easy to lose.
I mean, many people are small to me. I do not judge.
It is unlikely to me, it seems unlikely that Shatu Hak, being as powerful as she is, unassuming to be sure, but quite powerful, she has in fact mastered the green light of compassion in all its forms. It seems unlikely to me that she would have been gravely injured or captured against her will unless there are powerful players far beyond what I would have expected in this. More likely, she has allowed herself to be taken somewhere, though where I'm not entirely sure. All I know is that she arrived on schedule to meet me on an airship a short while ago. I have heard tell that not long after her ship arrived, however, she was set upon by unlighters. I would like for all of you to perform wisdom folklore tests at this point to see if you have heard of the unlighters.
Okay.
Wisdom
I'm
folklore.
bad at that one. One success.
All right. So you can spirit flare if you would like, Conra, but that's it.
I got one success, but I also got a 4 on my spirit.
Okay, so you have a spirit flare without having to spend the point. So you do have a luminous success. Yaira, how about you, Siggy?
Mm-mm.
Okay. So, Yaira, you have heard of the Unlighters. They are, you don't know a ton about them other than that they're an extremist gang that believes that the Overlight is a physical manifestation of the divine. And so the Skyborn, by splitting it apart and manipulating it, are heretics and blasphemers, and worthy of scorn at best and death at worst.
Okay. Yeah, I probably have run into them in Kilix, which is a very conservative area.
Almost certainly. And the other thing that you know about them with that luminous success is that they are, first of all, they're everywhere, and second of all, they could be anyone, from the highest of the nobility of Vale to the lowest of the beggars in the streets of Hark, right? To the tribeless Pyroi of Pyre. They could be anyone, and they could be anywhere. And so Faradun says that he heard that she was set upon by a group of unlighters. the city watch got involved, some of the dock workers got involved, and then from there he sort of lost track of her in his investigations, and only knows that she never made it to the rendezvous point where she was meant to meet Faradon. That's sort of all he knows at this point about her whereabouts.
We might have to go back to the docks. If anything, it would be someone who was on the ship with her. Might have tipped the Unlighters of this area off.
I was about to say you might be able to give us a good lead, given you're dressed as a ship hand, shipwright, ship person.
Deckhand, yes.
We're so close.
I ship it.
Sold.
But yes, that would be the best place to go first. Might get some more information that they wouldn't have told the authorities.
Should we be worried if we think somebody from her ship tipped off the Unlighters, whatever that is? That sounds like something that doesn't like the light.
It does. They don't like the Skyborn.
They don't like the Skyborn. Should we be worried about that? Should you be worried about that?
Why would I be worried?
If this person turned somebody else over to people who don't like Skyborn, and you walk up there, like, obviously being Skyborn, that...
Well, they were tiny, so they probably couldn't, although, I think she just automatically says Master Faradon said that this particular one is very strong, but there are Unlighters everywhere. I'm sure you've come across plenty and not know it.
Sure, whatever that is.
That's absolutely terrifying.
Oh. Connor just immediately looks around, and if there's any other people passing, he's just like immediately scrutinizing every single person.
I mean, now that you've
awakened
awakened
them many times and they haven't done anything to me now, why should I be worried? No.
True.
Okay.
Why shouldn't we?
Don't use your chroma out in the open, is all.
I'm going to perform a brief test on Nodi's behalf. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. So Nodi again taps her staff on the ground and looks up at Faradon, who leans down and listens to what she has to say, and he sort of nods and says, I don't know why Nodi has suddenly decided that she's not willing to talk to you, but I don't want to take over that voice because Victoria did it really lovely. And Faradon says, Nodi has pointed out another option. Yours is the most direct, at least as far as my information is. Nodi, however, knows of a Banyari in the not in the Verdant ring, which Conray, you know, is one of the rings of the city where many Banyari live, but in fact in the Banyari Garden community in the city center. Nodi believes that a Banyari named Higu may have information there, or at the very least may perhaps have heard what happened to my master. He keeps a fairly close eye on Banyari coming in and out of the city, and may have information for you. As for my part, it is unfortunate that I am no longer able to continue the investigation on my own, but I have spent my years running from shard to shard without always leaving the best of impressions in my wake with everyone, so it's best if I lay low at least until we have word of a possible lead.
Yarita nods at that, like, knowingly, like, that makes sense.
Yeah, right. Nobody's surprised. I also just remembered that I have... Here we go.
She looks at Conrad. I was like, you do know the city? Well,
yes.
Take us to this place then. That'll be less, I guess, obvious than going down to the docks. And maybe you'll feel safer.
Certainly, I think so. We could always come back and try the more reckless method if we don't find anything there.
You say reckless, I say easier.
Talking to people is easier.
That doesn't sound like the right thing to me.
Maybe this one doesn't have any training. To keep up with physical attacks.
That would be really boring.
Who on earth in a city would I be fighting?
Anyone.
I don't know, man. Those fighter pits in the library I don't know.
It goes down every week.
Conra has muscles from lifting
brawl.
so many books.
Tune in.
Right, yeah.
Yes. Yes. Excuse me.
I'm
All right.
sorry. One of you knows where they're going.
Yes.
Wherever you would like me to lead you, I'll point you in the right direction. Which would you prefer? The docks or the garden?
Let's try the talking first. Whatever.
I will lead us to the garden then.
Okay. So it's pretty close to the center of the city, so it's fairly far down, but it's situated in such a way that it still gets a pretty decent amount of overlight hitting it. And this garden
Gotta photosynthesize.
That's right. This garden is like it's like this little green jewel sort of cut off from the larger bounty and beauty of the verdant ring, which is a whole ring of sort of gardens and trees where most Banyari on Hark sort of spend most of their time. But this is like just a little nugget of green with terraces that are overflowing with greenery and the occasional like little waterfall from one terrace to another, orchids and lotuses. It's a very fragrant little area in the city, and for the most part, the Banyari that sort of stay there fairly insular and quiet. And as you all approach, you can see a few of them tending their gardens, some of them harvesting various fruits, these very small, bright yellow sort of berries that grow pretty all over the place here in this little area. And you all notice that there's one sort of older looking Banyari that is trying to harvest some of the fruits from one of the trees in an orchard. And these Harkeen children are sort of tormenting is maybe too strong a word, teasing perhaps this poor Banyari by running up very quickly. And because the Banyari is small and it requires a bit of extra effort to reach up to grab the fruits, the children are running up and grabbing fruits off the tree before the Banyari can reach them. But the Banyari seems fairly calm about the whole thing.
I think you just gonna stroll up, like sort of loom over the kids. Leave? No.
Why don't you make me... Oh, what are we going to call this? I think there is a... Is there like a...
Let's see, there's...
I can't even think of the word I'm looking for.
There's
Intimidation is the word I'm looking for.
Intimidation.
Persuasion?
Is there intimidation?
There's not.
Nope, it's just persuasion. So I'm
Sure,
persuading them with my
persuasion.
menace.
Yeah, I'll absolutely buy persuasion. Totally.
Okay.
And
so,
persuasion is what? Is
will.
Will.
Great, I love that. Let's do that.
Okay, so will persuasion, which will be on.
So what are your ratings in these? Oh, sorry, you're going to tell us, but I'm just curious what your ratings are.
So in persuasion, I have a D6, and in will, I have a D8.
Okay, great. So 3d6, 3d8, and our d4 spirit die. How'd we do?
All right, D4 spirit die. I always forget about that one. So I got one success.
Okay. What was the spirit die? Wasn't a 4?
It was a 2.
Okay. And you can spirit flare if you want to.
I think I will go ahead and spirit flare, so we make it 2.
Okay. So you walk up to them, and at first you as you're walking over, the ground here is kind of uneven, and just before you get to them, there's a little rock that sort of trips you up. You don't fall on your face or anything, but you sort of stumble. It's not quite the imposing entrance that you had hoped for.
That's fair.
But as the kids look over to you and you look up to them, you see what they're doing to this Banyari, and you see these kids, and you just have this desire to, like, give them a little bit of a taste of their own medicine. And as they look at you...
That's pretty much what it is.
Yeah.
She's not really angry. She's just
No.
Yeah.
And as you raise your head, a little bit... Will is your core virtue, right?
Yes, Will.
So a little bit of yellow will-centered overlight flares in your eyes, and they glow and reflect off of the silver of your irises. And the children see that, and they're about to sort of point and laugh at the fact that you tripped, but they see your eyes sort of flash with yellow light, and they sort of freeze, and then they hurriedly take the berries that they took, the fruit that they took, and they throw them towards the Banyari's collection basket and run off in the other direction.
To be young and dumb.
The Banyari sort of takes a moment and sort of slowly goes over and picks up a few of the berries that the kids threw that didn't make it into the basket, and sets them in the basket. And once those are all in the basket, he comes over to you, Siggy, and he sort of bows, and he's a leafkin, just like Nodi, and so his vines and things sort of also bend, almost as if they're bending in the breeze with him. And then he stands upright and he says very simply, "Thank you."
It's no problem. And then kind of like being like, wait, why were we here? Right. Would you be able to tell me where Higu is?
He, as soon as you say the name, you can see a sort of sadness cross this Banyari's face. And he says, "Why do you seek Higu?"
We are, like, she like just makes this face like she's recalling, like, we are looking for someone, and talking is a prepared method, and Higu is a talking option.
I love it. He says, it clear as crystal. Higu is just around that terrace. Be gentle with him, will you?
Okay. I wasn't going to hurt him.
Higu is Walrol thing. Why don't the three of you make me another set of wisdom folklore tests?
Wisdom folklore, my favorite.
Yeah.
Almost.
Nope.
No.
No?
Oh, wait, no, I need to roll one more d6. Shit.
Oh, okay.
No, I rolled 3 5s.
Okay. So close.
Only one success, sadly.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Siggy?
Also, one success.
Okay. So none of you have any idea what it means for...
Actually, I'll spend the spirit
Okay.
to make that a 2.
Absolutely. So yeah, what is this little spirit flare look like? How do you have that little boost of inspiration from the Overlight?
Despite like the knowledge coming from wisdom, the flare is compassion. So it's a bit of green that kind of like seeps through the mask. Oddly enough.
I love that.
So a little bit of green light comes through, and obviously Aida doesn't know very much, just a little bit, just enough to like feel sad for them.
Yes, and what you feel, I love that. So what you feel that causes you to be sad is immense loss. And not the loss of an individual, but sort of the loss of a people. And the tail end of it, you sort of get this sense of smoke and ash.
Mm-hmm.
So clearly, this Banyari and that tribe of Banyari have lost something terrible to fire.
Yeah, so she puts a hand to their heart, and just like, oof, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I understand. And I turn to you two, and they're the kind where they're the last of their kind.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
That's
I am
intense.
gentle, yes.
And the little Verthod just sort of nods and says, "Thank you."
We'll be courteous.
And yeah, I think I'll take the slight lead this time and walk towards like where he had pointed
Sure, absolutely.
to where Higu is.
So Yaida, you lead the group around the corner, and as you come around the corner, it's not that the plants don't grow well here. It's just that they almost look like they've been pruned to sort of stay away from this one small little wall of this terrace, and sitting on a broken bit of masonry on a small low like retaining wall around the corner here is another Banyari. This one, though, has sort of blackened, charred bark covering his body. Unlike even the description that Faradon gave you of his master, who he said had sort of a browner root system as opposed to the Verthod's green. This is not that. This is the black of char and death covering this Banyari's body, and he seems to be looking in your direction, but sort of very disconnected from whatever's happening around him, just sort of staring into space, hands in his lap as he sits.
I whispered to the other two, this person is supposed to have our information? I don't know if they're even here.
I agree. They don't tend, from what I know, they tend to stay within themselves.
I do not know why the person we're going this for would lie, so I assume the information is here.
Worth a try. Brought us here after all.
Mm. And there's a part of me that like still like keeps my hand towards my heart, and because one of the things that RML can do is they can embed jewelry into them, and I was able to embed an emerald, which causes me to be able to heal others, but it's like a one-time use unless you're very wealthy to have many emeralds on hand. And so that's where I had put mine.
Oh, I love that.
And I'm so tempted to wanting to try to use it to try to heal, but just knowing it's probably not going to work.
Yeah.
Because otherwise others would have done it by this point.
Right.
But I approach like very slowly, like to not startle them. And then I'll crouch down to like so that I'm sort of like eye level. Just wait.
Yeah, after a few moments, there's a sort of flicker of recognition that you're there, and you see this little Banyari's eyes sort of flick towards you and hold on your face for a moment. And then you just sort of see, without its eyes moving, you just see them sort of glaze, and he goes away again. But he seems at least aware that you're there.
I don't mean to disturb you, Master Higu. I was wondering, have you seen Shatu recently?
At hearing his name, he sort of comes out of his reverie again a little bit. And he just ever so slightly, all of his movements are slow and very slight, just ever so slightly cocks his head at your question and looks somewhat confused. Why don't you make me whatever it is, it's going to be compassion based. I think this is a really beautiful way to approach it. Why don't you make me, I don't know, what skill would you like to use to try and just sort of bring this Banyari out of his shell a little bit, out of his reverie?
Performance, since that's what I have.
Okay, great. No, I love that.
Just go
Yeah,
on.
yeah. So go ahead and make me a compassion performance, and just sort of once you've made the check, just sort of let me know what it looks like. But let's go ahead and make the
Okay.
test first.
So that will be 68.
I love that.
Uh,
It's one of the things I really love about this system. It's true, and it's true of a lot of systems. It's even true in D&D with the new the way that 5e handles skills, but they really go in hard in this book to tell you that, like, to tell GMs to encourage their players to come up with combinations of virtues and skills that they think sort of fit the situation. So that's true of any time I ask you all to do a test of some sort. If you want to tell me how you want to use a different skill or virtue, please feel free, because I think the storytelling that you all do it with is really lovely. Yes.
So 2 successes.
2 successes. Okay. So
Yeah.
I think that's enough to at least bring him out enough to hear the question, and he in this soft, sort of raspy, almost painful sounding voice, he says, Who do you seek?
And for a second, I thought, well, maybe I just remembered the name and looked back at you two.
Hawk?
Chatu Hawk, I think. I also thought it was a first and last name, but it might just be one name.
Yeah. Of the Ewon tribe.
And you can see Higu sort of thinking, which seems to be a bit of an effort. And finally he says, Yes. Hawk came here today. I saw her from afar. But then she never came closer. She was taken. She was arrested. She was
Arrested.
imprisoned. She was taken. No.
Don't push yourself. Wow. Where do we start with this?
Isn't a better place.
Prison, do you know? There's probably a lot of prisons in this city. Would I know?
They're sort of a lot of different echelons of prison, right? I mean, everything from sort of, the drunk tank to the hanging prisons underneath the city, underneath the shard, I should say. And he keeps sort of shaking his head, and he says, he finally says, the city watch, they took her. Something at the docks.
We were aware there was something happened at the docks, but don't worry about it.
I think, I just nod and gently put my hand on top of, one of Higu's hand. And go, thank you. Is there anything we can do for you?
He takes a deep breath and says very quietly, No. The hearthwood is gone. There is nothing but to wait. But Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I just nod.
Yeah. He says, but if there is no help for me, there is still hope for help for the Master of Green. Help her. That is help enough.
Of course. We'll do our best, right? I go, smile and nodding to the other two.
smile and
You
nod
goob.
in return. Concerned
Cindy
smile
made
and
it clear
nod.
which route she wanted to take. She's out of her
Whatever do you mean?
So I stand up and kind of give like a type of bow that if like anyone knew of the RML, you would give. It would be someone who would give to like a higher caste kind of bow.
Sure.
And then turn, I guess, the city watch or the docks then.
There's a lot of city watch. They're kind of everywhere. We could start at the docks and find the first city watch that are there.
And we are not supposed to fight them.
That took so much effort for you to say. It was amazing.
Not strictly, no.
I don't mind fighting, but preferably not at the docks.
I will start
Not
fencing.
where
will
there are
just
more
finish
city
it.
watch than us. Don't start a fight that we'll get arrested over. If there's less of them than there are of us, then it's probably fine.
I do not start. I finish.
As you were then.
Oops. That's the wrong one. There we go.
And I will
To the dock.
awkwardly
Or rather
bow
to the docks with the watch.
Yeah, I'll awkwardly
Yeah.
bow to this little Banyari to exit and start leading us to the docks.
Oh, bless. Yeah, so as you
Just waves.
and he's sort of he's gone again.
Yeah, he's in
you
the
know,
river
he's
right now.
elsewhere. Yeah. So Conrad, as you lead them through out of this city center back towards the docks, you sort of pass through a section of the Great Bazaar again. And as you pass through, you know, again, all of the sights and the sounds, the music is still going on, the smells of the city are everywhere. And again, there are all of these sights of all of these different things that you see on Hark from all 7 shards. And if you remember before, you saw the Novapendra being carried on the palanquin. This time, as you all walk by, you hear someone sort of muttering and chanting down an alley. And as you all pass this alley, you look down and you see an old Harkeen woman. Eyes of pure white, and seems to be some sort of augurer or fortune teller. And in front of her, on a sort of little makeshift altar of some sort, there's what looks to be sort of an enormous, like maybe 2.5, 3 feet across. What looks like a pillbug or a roly-poly, depending on where in the States you're from. Or, I don't know, what do you all call it in Canada?
Roly-poly!
Roly-poly, yeah, same. But it's
Pillbugs.
are they pillbugs for you?
Yep, West Coast.
I'm West Coast, and I learned
Maybe it's
we were
Pacific
roly-poly.
Northwest.
Yeah, Bay Area was roly-poly.
Oh, there you go.
Seattle's pillbug.
Well, that thing, but huge, is sitting up on this altar, sort of, and you can see that it's being held open, and this woman has her arms elbow deep in it, and is pulling out what look like it's this cluster of bulbous red. It's not really part of its entrails. It's something else that she pulls out, and she holds it up. And as the overlight catches it in this somewhat darkened alley, it glows and sparkles. And you just see this obviously blind woman sort of raise her face to whatever these red spheres are and just smile serenely. And then at that point, you all, unless you want to stop and investigate, at that point you all have walked by.
I think he's hard walking by this. Nope.
Yeah, no, you can't.
Nope.
You can't see my face because I think my computer's frozen. But Conrad's making a face kind of like he just smelled gym socks.
Yeah, I think Yarita pauses, and they actually get a memory from the time that they were in the in Dome and Shudder, and just keep on going.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and it's, you know, each of you sort of reacts in your own way, and it brings up its own things, but this is pretty not that that specific event was something you see all the time, right? But the oddness of it, the uniqueness of it is very typical of Hark, and in particular of the market in Hark. Just if you want to get a little taste.
You can find literally everything.
Exactly. If you want to get a little taste of all of the shards, you just have to wander around the market. At any rate. So you get through there, you get through the bazaar and back to the docks. And what is it that we are hoping for here at the docks? Where are we headed? What are we doing?
To find the city watch and ask them where they took this person,
Yeah, the dock,
I guess?
the dock guards, maybe.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And they're, you know, a dime a dozen. You can very easily find a city watch member, and they're fairly recognizable. They have... they have varying degrees of what you might call uniforms, but all of them have emblazoned somewhere on their outfit the symbol of the Seven, the Council of Seven here in Hark, because ostensibly they work for the council, sort of, kind of.
Ostensibly.
Right. But at any rate, they're easy to identify because of that. So yeah, you can absolutely find a guards person.
Should we try to find one specifically who's hanging around near a ship that came from Banyari? Do we know if this person was coming, or Banyan? Do we know if they came from Banyan?
From everything that Faradon said, it seems like yes, she came from Banyan.
Yes, that seemed good. And as I say that, I'm kind of distracted and glancing over to where my ship is.
Uh-huh. Why don't you do a wisdom perception test for me?
Okay. So that's all D6s. Well, 0 successes on the D6s, but I got a 4 on my light.
Okay, so you can. It's the small things. Okay, so you can bank a point in your spirit pool for that, since raising it to 1 success wouldn't actually do anything for you, but you do get a point to your spirit pool.
Nice.
Okay, so you look over to the ship and things look pretty quiet. It looks like most of the cargo's been offloaded, and you assume that everyone's kind of been given ground leave, shore leave, ground leave. I don't know, when they're airships, what do you call it?
Maybe still shore leave because you're still
shard
docking
leave.
somewhere.
Shard leave. Oh, I like shard leave.
There we go.
Yes.
Shard leave.
There it is. There it is. Yeah, there's not a ton of activity over there as far as you can tell. As far as being able to identify what ships had just come from Banyan, there aren't any obviously Banyari ships here, so you would sort of have to find maybe a dockmaster or someone who has some records to be able to tell you which ships came from where.
So yeah, I'm just staring at Conrad because I'm like, you're the expert here.
Actually, you said these people ostensibly work for the Council of Seven.
Uh-huh.
Would Siggy have encountered them before then?
Oh, you definitely would have encountered guardsmen, particularly the ones that work at the council building.
But not necessarily these.
Probably not, although it's not impossible. Why don't you... Let's see. What are we going to call it? Why don't you make me a... Oh, you know what? Just roll a die, any die. Evens, you recognize someone that you may have seen before, and odds you do not.
Okay. That's an odd one.
Okay, so you don't recognize, which is not super surprising, right? Most of the City Watch that you've interacted with have actually been council guardsmen, guards people, so yeah. But that said, you can certainly find other guards folks easily around.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I would presume they're all kept up to date on the goings-on around the area, so we could really hypothetically talk to anybody.
All right, let's find one that seems like
they won't murder people or drag us all to jail.
Oh, you are so timid. Let's just go. So Siggy will just walk up to a random guardsman.
Great. Great. Up you go. You find, a fairly... They're all sort of fairly relaxed at this point. There's not a ton going on the docks right now. So you find a fairly relaxed guards person, and they sort of clock you coming, because who doesn't clock you coming at any
and
given
she doesn't look
time.
Like she's just trying to just throw
Yeah,
up
no, absolutely.
casually.
Yeah, they're not nervous about it or anything, but they see you coming and sort of nod in your direction.
Mm-hmm. Could you tell me where they took the Banyari that got arrested earlier today?
And they sort of shake their head and look surprised and say, "Oh, I'm terribly sorry. Who are you?"
I am Siggy. So about the Banyari?
Well, I'm not really at liberty to talk about guard city watch activities unless you have a writ with permission, which of course you could speak to the captain of the watch here on the docks to obtain. But why do you need to know?
Because I am looking for her.
A wrongful arrest has been made.
Oh, well, that's a pretty serious problem and a serious accusation. I definitely think that you're going to want to see the guard captain and start filling out some forms about concerns, perhaps an appeal form, definitely a request for information. Yeah.
What about bail? Surely you allow your citizens bail.
Well, that depends entirely upon the reason for the arrest, the location of the arrestee after the arrest, where they're being held, when their trial is scheduled for. So
how do I use my
buddy,
wealth
buddy,
pool?
buddy.
Yeah, you're just like, how do I just make him stop?
I do paperwork for a living. This is too much.
We just want to know where they are. Wrongful arrest. I'll be honest with you. I don't care. I just need to find this person. Let's make both of our days a little easier.
So for this, Yaida, since you wanna maybe pull out a little wealth on top of Siggy's very reasonable request, why don't you make me a where are we? Let's see. How about a will persuasion? But with Siggy helping you out, I'll upgrade one of your dice. So what are your will and persuasion ratings?
Will is D8, persuasion is 0.
Okay, so I'll let you do a D8 and 2 D6, and if you want to throw in a wealth point to bribe, you can have 3 D6 for the persuasion.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay, great.
Let me just mark this. Now I'm down to 1 wealth point, so 3 is...
And don't forget your spirit die.
Yeah.
You can do it. I believe in you.
So do I.
I know it doesn't sound like it, but I do.
Nope.
None?
None.
Oh man.
Okay, well,
I got 3 3s, 2 5s, and 2 2s.
Okay, well, that said, even though that was an abject failure, the spending of a wealth point...
Maybe I pull out something that I thought would be, like, of money to the Harkeen when it really isn't.
Sure, I love that.
Like, because in Vale, it's all about the arts.
Yeah.
And everything. So what I consider some of my wealth is because I am untrained, so I wouldn't know any better. I pull out like a little porcelain origami figurine. Like,
I love that. Great, I love that.
Like this would be worth some food, in Vale.
Sure, absolutely. So here's what we'll do. Either you can because I love this story. So this can either be that you didn't actually end up spending the wealth point. You can have the wealth point back, or you can still use the wealth point, and they're not going to be super helpful, but they will at least they'll do a little something to help you on your way, because spending a wealth point is not an insignificant event in this game, right? So
right.
I don't want to trivialize the fact that you offered that up. So it's up to you. You can either have the wealth point back and do this very funny story if you offer this origami to this guardsman.
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
Okay, great. So take that wealth point back, and they sort of look at the crane and nod and say, very lovely, but I hope that isn't made from one of our forms that you'll need to fill out.
I think Siggy also looks at the crane like, what? That's not what I was implying at all.
Connor's like, oh, are we doing bribery now? He's just grinning. It's like, this is a socio-political territory I'm familiar with. I can do bribes.
Uh-huh. No. I love it.
And I just look confused. It's like, what? It is from finest craftsmanship.
It genuinely is. That's very nice.
It is very
Siggy,
nice.
Siggy just has her hand in her face at this point, like, oh no.
I love it. The guardsman says, "Well, thank you. It's lovely. If you just would head that way, you'll see the guard's house just a few berths over, and the captain can most certainly help you get that paperwork started."
I put the origami away and decides like they don't have taste here, do they?
I'll pat them on the shoulder in reassuring fashion. It's like
Aw.
someone would like that if you put it up for sale in the market. I guarantee you. And I'll
Siggy's
start
just doing this
towards
as she
that.
walks backwards from the guard, like, I don't get it either.
Yeah.
That was not my call.
I love that. I love that. So
Amazing.
you're all heading towards the guard post?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
As you head that way, Yaida, you hear sort of there's a hustle bustle. It's a dock. It's not super busy, but there's noise and there's people calling, and but you hear a very familiar, very distinct whistle coming from an alleyway, just sort of off to the side of the area that you all are walking through. And as you sort of turn your head, you see one of the other deckhands from your ship is there down the alley by themselves, and as you walk by, he just sort of clocks you and gives you a little wave.
My hand itches towards where I keep my short sword, because deckhands have short swords for reasons.
For
defense.
reasons.
Sky
Not
pirates.
No, of course not.
Cardio.
I mean, defense against sky pirates. That's what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was absolutely what I
Well,
meant. I mean, you could also definitely be a sky pirate.
And I just give a very courteous smile and nod. Like, clearly there's some sort of game being played.
His smile just gets that much wider. And as you walk past, trying not to be too unnerved, we take our brief little mid-show break. Hey, thanks everybody. This is fun. We're getting into the intrigue. We're finding out more about where this little Banyari has gone, and learning more about our characters. I love it. We're going to take just a brief little break, about 5-ish minutes or so. Go grab yourself some water, stay hydrated. We'll see you back in about 5 minutes. Bye. And welcome back, everybody. Thank you for sticking around, or if you've just joined us, hey, thanks for joining us. Hope you all got hydrated, have some, I don't know, snacks. It's a little late for snacks if you're on the East Coast, but anyway. You have a snack, don't you? Yeah. Oh, I want a donut. Oh,
That's what I wrote in
really
the
good
text.
donut.
I
It's a
did.
really
I did
good
just see
donut.
that, and I hadn't seen the donut, so I didn't know what you were talking about. Anyway, hi, welcome back, everybody. We're playing Overlight. Our three Skyborn have been hot on the trail of an apparently arrested Banyari, a small animal creature symbiote with some plants from the Shard of Banyan, who was apparently arrested.
Who would ever want to arrest a Banyari?
I was
Hello?
also thinking that, but then he said the word symbiote, and now I'm just thinking of Venom.
Oh, no. Oh, I've ruined them. Well, anyway.
No, it's
that.
wonderful. I love it. I want to play that now.
Okay. Well, anyway, that's where we are. So they've made their way to the docks. They just got hit with some of that famous Harkeen bureaucracy and have been sent to a guard post to speak with the captain of the guard there at the docks to hopefully get some more information about where this Banyari has gone. So you all walk into this guard post, and the man there behind the desk sort of looks up and says, help you?
I look at Conra, considering the last time I talked to the guard, it did not work out.
Yeah, Conrad puts on his customer service face.
Oh, we all have
Hi!
that face. That's the one. Yep.
Hello, I hope you're having a wonderful day. We just had a couple of questions for you about a recent arrest that happened here today, I believe.
You are?
Yes, my name is Conra. I am a historian. I work in the... I have to do a historical record about this. There's a lot of information that I need to get. You really don't want to get involved. I'm neck deep in paperwork. You don't want to be neck deep in paperwork with me, especially if you're sitting down, because it's going to be over your neck at that point. Please just, let's make this easy for us both.
About halfway through that, he started shuffling a big pile of papers and sort of pulling some stuff out of drawers next to him. And he sets down in front of you it must be half an inch thick stack of,
That's nothing.
of forms. And he says, right. So, request for information, academic considerations, recent information, so at least it'll get processed fairly quickly. Fill these out in duplicate, and we'll see what we can do.
How quickly?
Well, so this is the first time that we interact with the fact that there is no real time in Overlight.
I mean, the concept of a day existed before the world turned inside out, and so I would assume some sort of basic linguistic aspect of that would remain.
Right. I mean, I think I think the concept of a day is sort of more about the cycle of waking and sleeping, right? Because everyone does sleep. So yes, I think that is an easy, slightly cheating way out. So we're going to say that, yes, the concept of days, though they don't actually mean, sun and moon,
anything solar,
light and dark, right, still exists. So he'll say, it shouldn't take more than 5 to 10 days. Business
That's
days.
That's really not going to fly.
He says, well, if you want a Tyrixian to be a part of this, that's going to take a few extra days for me to find one. Tyrixians, for those of you who don't know, are the feathered reptile creatures from the 4th shard down from Quill, and they do, in fact, fly.
I think he was making a poor joke.
Well, it was in very poor taste considering the expedience of this report. We have to go and perform an interview post-haste with the arrested individual.
Why don't...
Conrad's lying off the top of his head.
And I love it. Why don't you make me a will persuasion test?
Okay.
Conrad.
So that's 3d8 and 1d6.
Okay, we started off so well there with what you were saying.
Just because he's got bravado, he's got bluster.
Absolutely.
Oh, well, that's 3 successes.
Holy shit.
Yay!
Nice.
All right.
Finally, some good rolls
Yeah, right.
from one of us.
Not a 4 on the spirit die.
That Conrad does not a 4 on the spirit die.
Okay.
Conrad does the angry white mom at a PTA meeting face.
Oh
He's
God.
shockingly good at it. Do you,
Unfortunately good at it.
do you want to spend a spirit point to flare and get 4
Yeah, I
successes?
kind of do. I would
think
like
you
to do that.
So I think
I would
as
love
Conra,
to.
I think as Conra just sort of gets going, you just see this little blue nimbus sort of start to just ever so faint to glow around him, and it doesn't draw attention to itself, but it just sort of every word that Conra says has a little extra weight to it.
It is illogical that it would take longer than a day to process something that happened today.
And so with that radiant success, because that bumps you up to 4 successes, so that's a radiant success, a tier
Ooh,
2
that's exciting.
success. So with that, the man behind the desk he says, all right, look, it just happened. If anybody asks, you were there. You saw what happened.
Naturally.
And I didn't tell you any of this.
Of course you didn't. We all saw it ourselves.
I don't know where the thing was taken. She was taken.
Excuse me.
I don't know where the young old who can say with the Bunyari. The lady was taken somewhere. I don't know where, but if you go to the City Watch station in the Ring of Silk, which you, Conrad, immediately know exactly where that is. It's sort of it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a ring of the city, the circular city, where a lot of silk merchants do their trade. Go there, ask for Ulvis, and, just be prepared to be even more patient with him than you were with me, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely.
Right.
Which is to say, I think I might let Siggy do the talking there, I say to my friends.
Yes. He says,
Thank you
now get out
so
of here
much.
before somebody sees you.
Thank you so much for your time and courtesy. Have a wonderful day. I leave.
I love it. All right. So you have your next clue, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I will lead us to the Ring of Silk.
And Siggy gets to talk to people. Wink?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Talk wink?
Oh,
Okay,
no,
yeah.
certainly. When I am explaining as we walk that when somebody in Hark says that you better be prepared to be patient, you had better be prepared to perhaps hang them by their toes out a window in order to get what you want with any expedience, because due process in Hark is a menace.
It is.
And here I thought you were boring. Slap,
of
slap
course
on the
not.
back.
I have deadlines. Probably nearly knocks him over. Can't
Yes.
spell deadline without dead.
I like that.
I think that's Siggy's new motto. Jeez. Oh man, I love it.
This is gonna be good.
Excellent. I adore it. So you all head to the Ring of Silk, and it is it is a very different. So it is a merchant's quarter, like the market, but it's very different from the market because you see a lot more presence of the City Watch here. You notice a lot more sort of closed doors to shops, whereas everything in the bazaar is just sort of open air, out, stalls out in the open. But here, everything is obviously sort of more valuable and more carefully protected. Things are a little bit quieter. There's still, you can still hear coming from some of the shops, sort of haggling and discussing and mercantilizing. But it's nowhere near the sort of bustle of the Great Bazaar. And without too much trouble, you can find sort of the primary guardhouse for the Ring of Silk. And inside is a much sort of tidier setup than there was on the docks. You see along the walls, you see several desks, each of which seems to have some sort of a clerk at them working on paperwork. And at the back of the room is a sort of counter, a standing counter behind which stands an official-looking guardsman, and behind him is a stout-looking wooden door.
Hello, good sir. We are looking for somebody by the name of Ulvis.
And he says, Ulvis, yes. Oh, yes, let me just get him, even though I have no idea who you are or why you're here, if you have the proper paperwork to see him.
Thank you. That would be appreciated. And Siggy gives a very creepy smile at that.
Yes. What did we do for this last time, Siggy?
We did intimidation. We did persuasion.
Persuasion.
Will? Yeah, persuasion will.
Great. Okay, let's
All
do
right,
it.
maybe I'll roll better this time.
You can do it. You can. Oh.
No.
Can I spend more than one spirit point?
Did you? Unfortunately, no. Did you get 0 successes? Girl. Okay. So he says. So he, with an equally shit-eating grin, says, "It would, wouldn't it?"
My dice are cursed. I hit.
He, without breaking eye contact, he just reaches under his desk and pulls out a stack of papers and sets them on the desk and says, "At your leisure."
I'm looking over my stats.
I just can see all of you being like, "How do we get out of this?"
I might try to do a bribery on this man. See, we've
now here's abort. Go on.
Yeah. See, here's the thing. We had a perfectly civil time with your friend who runs the station down at the docks, and he was greatly enthusiastic about introducing us to you. He just can't leave his post right now.
I would like to point out that not 3 minutes in game time after that poor man told you not to tell anyone that he was involved.
Did he?
Go on.
He said not to say that he gave us the information about where she
true,
was.
I suppose that is true. That's fair.
Not that we had spoken to him at all.
That's what he gets for not being 100% literal with Conra, of all people.
Semantics.
Yes. I love it.
Mm-hmm. And we would be perfectly happy to converse with you in exactly the same way as we conversed with him. And I'm just gonna slide some money across the table.
Okay. Why don't you make me also a will persuasion? You can upgrade one of your dice with the bribe.
Okay. Will is D8, and persuasion I have a nothing in that.
Okay, so 2d6 in that case.
Okie dokie. All right, and do I roll a spirit die for this as well?
Yes, please.
Yes,
all skill tests. Well, actually, all tests get a spirit die.
That's 2 successes.
Hey, that's enough for a luminous. What'd you get on the spirit die?
3.
Okay. Yeah, so that's enough. He for all of his insistence on protocol, he pockets that bribe faster than you can.
Nobody pockets them faster than people who insist on protocol.
Absolutely. So he takes that and he says, he sort of takes the papers and sort of looks at them and says, "These absolutely seem to be in order. I'll be right back."
I'm certain they are. We didn't take them out of the order he gave them to us.
He sort of, as he's turned around to go into the door behind him, and as you say that, he sort of stiffens a little bit and sort of cocks his head, but then goes through the door.
That was a Nat comment, but I'm glad to let it stay
No,
in
I
character.
think it was like. So he goes in, and you can hear voices on the other side, and a few minutes later, the door opens, and that same man sort of beckons you in and says, "Ulrich, we'll see." That's not his name, Ulrich. What is his name? I've already forgotten. Ulvis. Yes, Ulvis will see. What a gross name. Ulvis will see you now. So you head into this back room, and you have never seen an older Harkeen man. It is amazing that he has the muscle tone to stay upright. He is just hunched and shriveled, and there is something about him that you realize that his physique is perhaps not the only thing about him that is sort of raisiny and hard and unpleasant. He just sort of exudes this like unpleasantness, and he looks up and he says, "What?"
We need to find Saktuhak. Banyari.
Chatuhak.
Chatuhak. See, you said it right. I said it wrong.
Yeah, sure. Why?
Because we're looking for her.
Why?
That is my honest answer.
Okay.
Can I do a perception check?
Sure. What are you looking for?
Oh, just like anything about like the room for like or him for like personality or something to like.
Sure.
That's such a nice bus. Be ashamed if something happened.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Or I would also buy intuition if you are any better at that.
No.
Okay, great.
Perception.
Then perception it is.
Yeah. So that's D6s all around.
All right, let's do the thing.
Connor is beginning to realize the exact reason this guy pushed them off onto this new dude.
Right. Sadly, none.
Okay.
A lot of 5s.
It looks fairly bare, to be honest. Like, there's tons of papers, but other than that, there's not a lot of personality to the room. So he sort of drums his fingers on the table and he says, "Have you filled out the paperwork?"
Would we be in here if we hadn't?
Hold on. And he ever so slowly bends over,
God.
reaches, opens a drawer, and you can hear the wood slowly scraping as the drawer opens. And he reaches in and he shuffles papers again, just excruciatingly slowly. And finally, after an eternity or 5 seconds, who can say, pulls out a book, a big leather-bound book, and thumps it on the table. And he opens it up. And he turns, and it's a fairly thick book, and you can see that about a third of the way into the book, there's a little tassel, like a bookmark, and you can immediately see that this is some sort of like a ledger of watch activities. But obviously, the stuff written on these first pages is very old, and it isn't much of an intellectual leap to think that, like, maybe where this tassel is where the most recent things are. But this man is turning one page.
You said this man looked really like unpleasant.
Oh yeah, just like a sour face, and yeah.
Can I, as a tundra runner, I've been through many tough situations, and his grizzled visage reminds me of the tundra. So with that in mind, could I use survival vigor? Because I can survive this test of patience he is putting before us.
What's your survival rating?
My survival rating's only a D6.
Okay.
Yeah, but vigor's a D.
Here's what I'll buy. Here's what I'll buy from you. And this actually might end up being better. I will take vigor, but instead of survival, I'm actually going to put resistance with it.
Actually, not better, but okay.
I'm sorry, not resistance, resolve.
Yes, okay, that's about the same, but yes.
Okay, great. So, because resolve is that same thing that Conrad did.
You know what? Yes, yep, that makes the most.
So let's
sense.
do,
Yes,
but we'll keep vigor because yeah, tundra and reasons. So yeah, go ahead and do a vigor resolve test. Oh no! What if she fails though?
No, I
And
didn't.
Oh, good.
Their toes.
I did not this time. I just have to roll the spirit dice real quick.
Yeah. Just ready for Siggy to like stab the poor man.
So, I got 3 successes.
Hey, all right.
Nice.
That's a luminous success. So you take a deep, shuddering breath, and you are able to center yourself and not break the old thing's neck.
Pretty much what she said.
And eventually, he does sort of hear the intake of breath, and he sort of glances up and sees you just sort of like shudder a little bit, Siggy. And you can't be sure, but you think maybe the pages are turning a little faster. And eventually he gets to where the marker is, where the ribbon is, and he sort of runs his finger down, and he says, "Who was it again?"
Chatuhak, a Banyari woman.
Oh. Well,
She's crazy.
not great for you. Or for her.
Care to elaborate, please, sir?
Sure.
Oh my god.
Seems she was arrested
That-
for...
I put a hand on Conrad's shoulder. It's like, if you interrupt him more, it'll take much longer.
I know.
for failure to pay. Fines and damages. She was remanded to the hanging prison. Conra, you have heard of the hanging prison. It's somewhat infamous. It was designed...
Like, dangles off the bottom, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. It is a prison. It is a series of cages and metal catwalks underneath the Shard of Hark.
How barbarous.
Yeah, it's real messed up.
That seems especially cruel for failure to pay a fine.
I just keep the records.
Can I, like, read over the top? Like, he's got this on a desk, right, and I'm standing in front of it. Can I, like, read it upside down? Is that actually what it says?
Make me a wisdom perception. Do a wisdom perception test, because he's going to try and, like, cover it if he sees you, but let's see what happens.
Yep. 1 success.
You can Spirit Flare if you like.
Nah.
Yeah. So you can't actually. He sees you sort of coming towards to try and take a look.
That's when he's the fastest.
Yeah, right. He just like yanks the book back and says, "Well, the good news
There's good news.
or bad news. Her case won't come up for review for a while."
No, that's probably good news.
And he takes the book and slowly shuts it.
Do we need paperwork to visit her at the hanging prison?
Let me check.
Siggy at this point is like audibly, roughly tapping on the desk.
While he's checking, I'm going to whisper to my companions, is this enough information that we can bring it back to the musician?
You hope.
You think?
Well, how bad is the hanging prison?
It's, correct me if I'm wrong on
Yeah,
the world building, by the way.
I
It's kind of the worst of the worst. That's where they put people that, well, how bad of a person would you have to be in RML to get dangled, as an RML, to get dangled off the bottom of your shard?
You have to be a runaway slave.
Oh, you actually have like a specific answer to. I'm upset.
Will hey Siggy and Conra, will you two please make wisdom intuition tests for me real quick?
Okay. Oh, absolutely.
No reason.
That's one success.
Okay. 2 successes. Siggy, I just sure did have that answer real fast.
Sure. Like Siggy just kind of like she's still like aggressively tapping at us, but then turns an eyebrows. That was fast.
And I just shrug and have a very stoic look on my face.
Yep. Totally. Finally, this man has finished checking, and he says, "Nope."
We can just go. Fantastic.
Nope.
Thank you for your time.
What?
No visitors at the hanging prison.
Ah.
You wouldn't want to visit anyway. It's terrifying down there.
Well aware. I've studied it extensively. But thank you so much.
You dangle. It's terrifying. The wind.
So you find the idea of dangling terrifying, do you?
Anyway, thanks so much for coming. Have a good day.
I think I like I'll pull Siggy out like.
Oh my.
Oh, fantastic.
This guy's very pleasant. So Siggy just goes just like the eyes.
And the clerk from the outside follows you out, and you didn't see the man move from his desk before you all left the room, but that door sure did close pretty swiftly behind you after you were all out of the room.
He did it with magic. He's a skyboard.
I mean, he could be. That might explain his unpleasantly because he shattered.
So many times. Oh.
Poor bastard. Well.
Yes, we should go back.
Yes, we need to discuss this with our benefactor. He's not paying us.
Friend. He would say friend.
Associate.
Well, sometimes it's good to help people because
And
they
good to help
sometimes you are
people.
just bored.
At least it's a good kind of bored. I've met others who were
Productive
bored
bored.
and they hurted other people.
That's dreadful.
When you have too much excess in some towns, your boredom changes.
No, that tracks.
Sounds like
Unfortunately.
they do not know their place in the world. They should come to Paro. They'll figure it out quickly.
I would
Oh,
love to
I'm
see
sure.
that, actually.
I guess we're heading back.
Yeah, so back to the area there, and when you head back, you at this point, you all are beginning to sort of know the way from the docks to the market and to the little amphitheater, and Faradon is still there with Nodi, and they seem to be having a delightful little chat, and they see you coming, and Faradon stands and waves at the three of you, and he says, "Ah, my friends, how good to see you. How have things been going?"
She's in jail.
I have good news and I have bad news.
Well, I think your friend Siggy might have just given me the bad news.
The good news is we know where she is.
Yes,
the
so do
bad
I.
news
She's in jail.
You know, the bad news is which jail?
Oh, please say it isn't so.
I'm genuinely, truly very sorry.
Oh. And for the first time, Faradon has been a fairly upbeat sort of person, or at least very sort of, kindly and optimistic. But he very clearly knows what you're saying and is deeply sad about it. He says, "What could they possibly think she did to deserve to go to where they sent?
That
Unpaid fines,
they
apparently?
claimed it was unpaid fines and damages, but didn't say what for.
Can't possibly.
It
Well,
doesn't
we didn't
make
have the
sense
patience
either. That's
to
where they send people
stay.
who do things like murder.
More to the point, it's where they send people to be forgotten and die hungry and alone. What could my master have possibly done to deserve such a fate?
Do you think
Especially
she
one
was
of
framed?
compassion.
Precisely, Yaida. Framed, possibly, though. It's possible.
I still
You don't
cannot believe anyone would think a Banyari would do anything. Well, I hear the bird people don't like him so much, but
The Tarixians have their qualms about the Banyari, but not to those who are on Hark. Even those, it seems extreme. It feels almost as if, well, I wouldn't want to speculate, but it seems rather unusual to me. And,
It is. I live here. It's pretty unusual.
and very disheartening. That prison is said to be impenetrable. And you
I'm
watch
sure
as
there's
you,
always a way around things.
and as you say that, you see that clearly Faradon has had the same thought, and you just watch as his very sad, very dejected face begins to lift, and a little sort of mischievous spark glints in his eye, and he just the barest smile sort of cracks at the corners of his mouth, and he says, "Well, now that you mention it, Conra, there are always ways." Okay, first of all, that scared the living daylight out of me. It's okay. It's like the third time somebody's done something really creepy to startle me today. Halloween is over, y'all. The ghosts need to go back. We need some sage up in this place. Anyway, he says, there is always a way in, and places that are locked up tight have to have a key. And it just so happens that I might know where we can find a key to the hanging prison.
Why on earth would you know a thing like that?
Oh, I'm what? Lucky like that, you might say. I've been places, seen things, met people, know things.
I whisper loudly to my companions, I think this man is a criminal.
Some call me that. At any rate,
That's the whole
You
sentence.
didn't offer an
Nope.
alternative statement.
No, he didn't. He says, at any rate, I begin to think more and more that it was not mere happenstance, that it was specifically the four of you brought here to me for this. Of course, Nodi here and I have just been discussing her connection to my master as a Banyari herself. Kanra, of course, your connection to this city has made the investigation and the amassing of information so much easier.
they know how to bribe here.
That they do. Siggy, something tells me that if some of my suspicions are correct about why my master ended up in the prison, some of your connections may come to bear down the road. And Yaida, your Auramel heritage might be just the thing we need to get us an in to the hanging prison.
I want to do perception since I don't have intuition.
Okay.
Well, actually, no.
I'd
It
like
make
to
more
do
sense.
intuition.
It make more sense to do intuition, even though I don't have it.
I think for this, yes, I think it would.
I was
Yeah.
just about to say I'd like to do an intuition.
Do it. Yeah, anybody who likes can definitely make a wisdom intuition test. Perform a wisdom intuition test? Perform. I gotta get that verb right.
Thinking specifically does not, and she just says, I hope there's some liquor at the end of this long journey.
Just one success.
He says, "Oh, I may not have much, but I think I can manage that. How do we do, Yaida?
1 success and 1 spirit success. So.
Oh, great. Okay, fantastic. So that'll be 2. Yeah. So, anything in particular you're hoping to sort of suss out? I can give you some information, but
because he seems very knowledgeable about us, which didn't ping me as like a bad thing before, but what he said.
Right.
Like, was he being sarcastic, genuine?
No, he was being genuine, and I think what might have caused you, Yaida, to sort of tense at that, he doesn't seem to give any indication that he knows that much about you.
Okay.
He knows enough, that you're RML, but it seems like what he knows about you comes from the mask that you're presenting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that did calm me down, and it's the first time like you guys see me adjust the mask a little.
Oh.
And it's just to like make sure it's sitting properly and everything.
I love that. He, however, Faradon is in mischief mode. He's got a plan, so I don't think he thinks, oops, oh, I apologize to everyone who had to hear that. I don't think he thinks too much of it, and he just sort of he's thinking, and he says, yes, Yada, you may be just the key. You see, there is an infamously decadent RML aristocrat here on Hark, goes by the name of Matrix Invico Karamag. And the good Matrix is said to be the last descendant of Pelagius Karamag. And, Conra, why don't we have you make, for this one, because it's a study thing, why don't you make us a logic folklore test?
Oh, goody. I can roll 3d12 and 1d6 then.
Oh, well, all right.
Conrad doesn't know anything about fiction.
Sure.
Or folklore or legends. He likes fact.
Sure.
Oh, well, that's still a success.
Okay.
And
would the name be...
Oh,
I'm assuming...
Yeah, it might for you as well. From you, Yaida, since it wouldn't be a thing that you studied like Conra, why don't you make me a wisdom folklore test? But because it's an RML thing, you can upgrade one of your dice.
Okay, so then I'll do 2d6 since I have no folklore.
Yes, that sounds good.
Those still 3 successes.
Okay, great. And let's see where Yaida ends up.
1 only.
Okay. Conra, you have recognized that name because you have done some study on the Hanging Prison, and Pelagius Karamag was the architect. And he, he's famous because it takes a particularly brilliant and cruel mind to design something like the Hanging Prison.
Yep.
And it seems that this Invico Karamag is his last descendant. And Faradon says, and being the decadent, what's the word I'm looking for? Extra, we would say, individual that he is, the good Matrix can't resist but wearing a key, or so it is said, to his predecessor's prison around his neck. Now, that's not particularly convenient for us, except that the good Matrix is known to get profoundly intoxicated at his gala balls that he hosts frequently at his manor house. And it just so happens that there is a gala taking place tomorrow evening. I think it's time that we get the 4 of you invitations. And that is where we're going to leave our adventure for this week.
Gala, 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 gala.
Everyone has to dress up next time.
That's
absolutely.
Right. Oh, I'll get my cape. Anyway.
Yes.
Hey,
I'm
thanks.
thrilled. Conra's terrified.
Yes. Siggy, I promise there is cause for good might, will, and vigor.
No, that's right. See, because apparently it hasn't mattered. It's like I have
That's true.
decent ratings in this. I've rolled terribly.
That's true. It's probably best that we haven't gotten into a fight. That would end badly for you all.
Apparently.
I'm excited if we get the chance to, though.
We
Same.
will. Oh, we will.
Yeah.
Awesome. Hey, thanks for hanging out, everybody. We are so happy that you stuck with us and joined us for this session 2 of our Overlight campaign. I'm loving sort of figuring out along with you all how the system works and how we can use the system to tell a story rather than the other way around. And I think you all are doing a beautiful job, so thank you. Let's go around, introduce ourselves again, characters, where we can find you on the interwebs, and one of your favored moments from this evening's session. We'll go in reverse order from what we did at the intro, so we will start with Diana.
As I go by Dynamoon online, I use she, her. You can find me on Twitter at Dynamoon or YouTube and Twitch as xDynamoonx. You can also find me role-playing on Sundays on the I Need Diverse Games channels, twitch.tv/INDG. We just finished Girl Underground. We're going to go into Lacuna, which is some Matrixy fun stuff, if you're interested. And I think... Oh, there were so many good scenes. Yeah, I kind of liked near the end where Siggy actually prompted the guy to be fast.
Yeah, that was
Yes.
pretty magical. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Let's go over to Alicia.
Hey, I'm Alicia. You can find me on the internet at Twitch/Energy9, Twitch.tv, whatever. Energy9 on Twitch. Stardew, Slay Aspire, all the good stuff. You can follow me on Twitter at Energy98. I'm a member of number campaigns, and I tweet them because I don't have a good memory and I don't remember off the top of my head. Also puns.
Puns are good.
Oh wait, favorite moment. I think my favorite moment was Conrad just pulling out of her book, just like, I have an academic study. I need to talk to the prisoner.
Yeah, it was pretty great. I love it. Last but most certainly not least, Nat.
Hi, I'm Nat. My pronouns are they, them, because I forgot to say that at the top of the show.
It's okay.
No worries. You can find me on the internet at Nat Rose with a Z. Favorite moment.
Favored.
I also
moment.
favored
is a lot of
moment.
pressure.
Yeah. I also really liked Siggy threatening the obnoxious guardsman, but I also really liked Yaira, just the immediate answer to a really shady question.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
I loved it. Fantastic. And I am Eugenio. I use he, him pronouns. You can find me on the Twitters at @DMJazzyHands. I'm the Dungeon Master for the actual play podcast, The Last Refuge. We are going to be releasing part 2 of our Dia de Muertos holiday special on Wednesday. So you can check us out. You can go to our website, dndlastrefuge.com, or follow us on Twitter at @DNDLastRefuge. I'm also here on this channel DMing Saturday morning D&D in Hell, Descent to Avernus, on Saturday mornings at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. We've had 2 really awesome sessions. The characters started in Hell at 7th level, so we skipped the first couple of chapters of the book. Not that they're not great, but we wanted to dig right in. So you can come check me out live every Saturday then. Of course, we do have a ton of stuff. I'm on the creative board for this channel, and we have a ton of stuff every single week. Our schedule is jam-packed every single week, and that is all because of your support, your presence on the channel, in the chat, your retweets, your follows. If you haven't done that yet, click the little heart button at the top of the browser so that you can follow the channel and get notifications every time we go live with one of our many, many awesome shows. Also, if you are willing and able, and of course we realize that not everyone can and not everyone wants to, but if you are willing and able, we would love to have your support in other ways as well. We have a Patreon for the channel, patreon.com/variantrolls, or subscriptions to the channel are much appreciated. Our programming is ever expanding, and we can only do that because of your all's amazing support. What else do we have? Let's see. Tomorrow night, we have the finale of the amazing Velvet Soiree. That's going to be at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, right here on this channel. So you should definitely come and check that out. They've done a really beautiful season, and I am excited for them to go out with a bang tomorrow evening. We will be back next Monday night after Grim Femmes, once again on Monday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, right here to find out what this decadent RML house party is like. I'm very excited for that. In the meantime, have a wonderful evening, everybody. Stay hydrated. We are going to go ahead and raid Welcome Party RPG. They're on episode 2 of one of their games. So if it's not too late for you, if you want to keep up with some more stream tabletop role-playing, we're going to head over there. But otherwise, have a lovely evening. Thanks so much for being here. Happy gaming, y'all.
Bye.
I did the thing again where we have to wait 10 seconds, and now it's awkward. 3,
It's okay.
2,
They just
you're
get
all
the
great.
love.
Goodbye.
All right. That was